Hello and welcome everybody back once again to another Le Mans Ultimate, I was going to say GT3 stream, but I guess we do have some GT3s in here, some LMGT3s this time, as well as the Hypercars. We're back for more Le Mans Ultimate. I'm Mike Nause. Joined alongside me tonight is none other than Mr. Saagar Bakshi. Saagar, how are you doing on this fine evening?
I'm doing lovely, Mike Nause. I'm excited to see this multi-class madness go down around the principality that is Bahrain. And I'm excited to see how the drivers fare through tricky turn 10, as well as how many overtakes we can count on our fingers and toes going in towards turn 1, because it's going to be a madhouse out there tonight.
It absolutely is. And a big thank you as well to Mr. One Bigley for the hydrate, as well as the $5 dono before we even got into it in the pre-screen. Welcome to everybody as well on the YouTube and the Twitch side of things. I see we have Mr. Mowers Emporium, we got One Bigley, and we got AV6 Scott all joining us, and more to come. There is Nailgun Stanley. Welcome everybody. Hope everyone's having a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Why don't we talk a little bit about not just the track here at Bahrain, because this is an absolute corker if you've watched Formula One. High degradation, difficult to overtake, but also not really. It's just all about going to be a true racer's track. But this is, of course, a circuit that was designed by Herman Tilke and owns all of its accreditation, basically $150 million and 18 months of construction, to the Crown Prince, Sheikh Salam bin Hamad Al Khalif, which the Al Khalif family has owned Bahrain since 1783. And when I say owned, I mean they conquered it a long while ago. But Saagar, of course, that's about the principality itself. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about this fine circuit?
For the circuit, 3.63 miles long, or 5.4 kilometers. What the heck is a kilometer, you might ask? 15 corners, 9 to the right, 6 to the left. Fastest lap on FIA record being a 141.5. FIA 2023 WEC winners would be the number 8, Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Rio Harakawa, and the Toyota machine. And hopefully we'll see some Toyotas rein themselves in and maybe potentially take P1, because I believe Carl Sween right now in the Alpine has led the championship with 75 points right now.
Yeah, and that'll be the man to dethrone for the night with all of the different racers out there and the various lap times. This is a track that maybe drivers aren't as familiar with. Of course, we were at Spa Round 1, a track that everybody that's driven ACC certainly knows quite well. Round 2, we were at Sebring, a circuit that maybe some iRacers might know from their time throughout iRacing, but I don't think Bahrain is necessarily one of the more popular tracks. Unless you're racing in the F1 game or the F1 simulators of some form, I feel like a lot of people don't have too much experience on this circuit.
Absolutely true, Mike Nause. It's not a track that you'd see on a ton of simulators, and even on Assetto Corsa, it's hard to find a good mod of Bahrain and the circuit out here. Of course, there are some extra mods that you can get from Pyrex that are pretty decent, but overall, it is difficult to try to get your practice in. So the LMU broadcast, or the LMU platform, I should say, really has done a good job of bringing this one forward, because it is a very fun circuit to go around. It is very tricky, fast and slow corners alike, with good braking zones, good for passing opportunities, and just good for plain old racing all around.
It really is, and again, I mentioned it just briefly. The fact that the surface hasn't been resurfaced since 2004, the birth of the track. Sure, various potholes have been filled in here and there, sort of similar to Sebring. This is an abrasive circuit, and when it comes to tire wear, the drivers might be experiencing that, especially with the heat of the desert bearing down on their, I was going to say shoulders, but more their machines, to be honest, and allowing more rubber to get laid down on the circuit, and that's not ideal if you want to keep your rubber on your tires, is it?
No, not too ideal, and some drivers having trouble keeping the rubber down. Mike Nause, let's head over to the live screen and see how the drivers are faring keeping their rubber planted to the floor. How's that sound?
Let's do it. Right there, we can see the beautiful BMW Santiago Barrios out on circuit, currently targeting German, excuse me, that is we were corrected on that last week, and Sween, the man to dethrone, as you mentioned there, Saagar, the championship leader.
Absolutely. Carl Sween has been on a bit of a rampage, getting P4 in round 1 and then getting a P1 in round 2 and looking to get P1 in round 3 here at Bahrain. But he's got someone to contend with. That'll be Joseph German. He was just a couple tenths off the good, but now he's 9 tenths back as Carl Sween puts down a purple lap again, a 46.821. We saw 47s in the free practice, but this time he's doing pretty well. Joseph German coming into the pits right now, and he's on his way doing an outlap in the number 7 Toyota Gazoo Racing, and aptly put as the 2023 FIA winners of the 8 Hours of Bahrain. And Joseph German giving us a bit of a wiggle there for love for the camera, or perhaps just warming up his tires, Mike.
I think he's just trying to get all that crucial heat in, but of course we see here the floodlights, Saagar. How many floodlights are illuminating this circuit here tonight?
There are not 495 light posts illuminating the track, each with 5,000 light fixtures, making it one of the brightest venues on any calendar that you can drive on. So this night race won't be too dark here, as the whole track you can see is just brightly lit up around every single corner, Mike.
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm getting. It almost looks like day out there on circuit, but it's not. It's nighttime that we're driving on, because of course if you were to race this circuit in the day, I mean, well, they have done it in the past, and they do every now and then, but it certainly makes tire wear a little bit of a challenge. Now, for these races, we only have 1 hour on the clock throughout the entirety of it, so it's not going to be necessarily the most abrasive all the way around. And welcome as well to Alex K. Welcome, Carlos Guzman. Welcome, Pork Chop. Not to enjoy. We got a lot of people driving us, and there are occasional horn honks, and yes, they're definitely from the simulator.
You know, Alex K, that was one thing I forgot to put on the list of LMU complaints that I had, is that you need to go ahead and please remove the horn honking, as Joseph German may have destroyed his vehicle and potentially has some radiator damage, as the car is now upside down on track and now magically turning itself right side up. That is a sight to be seen. Exclamation point clip on that one. Let's see if Santiago Barrios can do any better this time around. No, he is coming in to practice his pit stop.
Yeah, Joseph German there, he looked Death in the eye and said, "Take your best shot," and then Death replied by slamming his head into the concrete repeatedly. That was not quite how he had it drawn up, I don't think, but Joseph German certainly making the highlight reel for the night.
And Joseph German actually tumbles down into P3 for the hypercar category. A Siege Engine is able to snake right in between himself and Carl Sween, 8 tenths off the good right there. And look at Osvaldo Costa. He's 5 thousandths away from Brandon Pfeiffer in P5 right now, and we're seeing just a couple of tenths separating a few of these drivers through the mid-pack. So I bet in the hypercar category we are going to see some wonderful action, maybe not at the front, but we'll see it all around through the middle and side to side potentially.
We certainly will, and Savage, welcome to the team, and that was a savage incident, and more to come. What happened there? That we don't know, but either way, don't think that was self-induced. Well, with that, we have qualifying still going on. We got 8.5 minutes left to go. The margins are honestly a little bit more spread out than I would have expected at the top. We'll be seeing, of course, if that does close down as we go. As we also have the other categories now that we're taking a look at, the GT3s, or the LMGT3s, and pay no mind to the car spun out of scene left there. That's just, I actually have no idea who that is, but Yao here, or Zhao, getting by without too much of an issue.
Zhao able to get by without too much of an issue, just getting his outlap done right now, and there's no target time to be met this time around. Lucas Mine, Tim Kennedy, Xavier Crab, Will Brunner, One Bigley, Ryan Lentillion back on the grid, and I believe Ryan Lentillion came in P2 for his category in the LMGT3 category last week. He did come in P2, a disappointing 8th place finish for him in round 1 at Spa-Francorchamps. 58 points to his name. He's only 2 points behind Tim Kennedy, who's in P2, and all 3 front runners driving BMWs.
Yeah, and with the BMW, definitely seems to have been a quite strong car. The Ferrari also making its mark known, and a few other there. The Corvette has been kind of the undersung, I don't want to say heroes, it hasn't been shown that much. We've only seen 1 or 2 Corvettes out there, and I'm assuming more to come, more McLarens as well. There we can see the lap times not quite in just yet for the LMGT3s, but them on their outlap here, we can see sector time starting to roll in, and by no surprise, Ryan Lentillion is a purple sector 1, as he's the first one to do it.
He is, but Tim Kennedy, it looks like one of the Corvettes racing through on Ryan Lentillion as he makes his way through the track right now. Where would that be on circuit? I apologize. We're working our way through the track map. That must be turn 8, I believe, that he was able to get past, and in through 9, and this is turn 10 right now. This is a difficult late braking left-hand corner where we will see some cars undulate and try to make their way through. Yes, that was turn 10 and coming in towards turn 11, 12, and 13 now. It'll be awfully tricky to see any cars try to make some overtaking moves, but we know that some cheeky hypercars will definitely want to get some moves done before they get caught up behind the LMGT3 pack during this twisty bit.
Yeah, and we'll see the track here. In fact, that's actually a great point there, Saagar. If we could go on board for a little bit here for a lap with Ryan, or at least for the final sector 3, we can just sort of see what it's like down here at Bahrain. We're kind of down to the tail end of the lap. We only have, I think, one more corner to go after this. Well, 2 technically, 14 and 15, before rounding on to the start-finish straight. Just trying to break it in time here. That Corvette, though, that I mentioned, the only Corvette on circuit, almost going to be hindering Lentillion just a little bit. But as we come to the line here, we're going to be seeing his first lap time. And what is it going to be? It's going to be enough for a 2:08.7.
287, but there's definitely some fuel in the tank that he can burn, braking right around the 150, 125 marker, shifting all the way down into first gear for turn 1. Got to keep it neat and tidy, punch it on the way outside of turn 2, making your way through turn 3, which really is just a little bit of a king, and down the straightaway as you approach turn 4, you're going to want to move all the way over to the left-hand side of the road without getting your wheels stuck on the dirty stuff, and then braking right around the 100 board. Tentative to get on throttle because you don't want to get out onto the sand that's there, although the curbs will allow you to push out pretty far. And then now coming in through 5, 6, 7, and 8. This is a bit of a roller coaster section. Again, being tentative to get on throttle, going curb to curb through the S's, and then again back down into first gear for the bottom of turn 8, and then in through turn 9 and turn 10. This is super tricky. 2 double left-handers, and turn 9, you just got to throw the car in, kind of get off throttle and get on the brake. As soon as you get through turn 9 and in through turn 10, you can see that Corvette going a little bit too far and wide there, and he's going to get slowed down from that greasy stuff on the outside of the track, as well as the gravel trap. Coming in down the mid straightaway in towards turn 11, braking at 100 board again, going down into second gear, getting on throttle a little bit sooner because the corner actually opens up for turn 12. And now having to navigate around some LMGT3 traffic, getting on throttle just a little bit there, being careful. You can't take it exactly flat out. And another tricky double right-hander, turn 13. Doing well to keep it on the track surface, on the racing surface. Ryan Lentillion's doing a good job. Improvement through sector 2. He's doing his personal best right now after his show banker lap. Braking again around the 100 board for turn 14 and 15. Double apexing this, going out as far wide as you can without hitting the gravel trap. And that is 1 lap around the circuit of Bahrain.
And there we go. What is it going to be? A 2:04.2. That's the time right now, but the time to beat in category is going to be a 2-minute dead 0.7. And that's going to be Zhao once again. Azevedo on the tops, and really nobody that close. Lucas Mind actually just answering back by a 10th off the mark. But right now, it's looking like quite Brazilian dominance up at the top.
Yeah, it really is. Zhao Azevedo, Lucas Mine, Tim Kennedy, and then Ryan Lentillion down in 4th place. Will Brunner, Xavier Crab, Lentillion gets bumped down to P5. Brunner in 6th, Crab in 7th, and Drew Burakovsky rounding out the 8 LMGT3 drivers right now. But it is awfully close between Lucas Mine and Zhao Azevedo. It's only about 1/10 separating the two of them, so it could go either driver's way as Lucas Mine just sets a purple sector 1 and Azevedo snatches away purple sector 2.
Let's see the battling keeping out throughout this. Only 2 minutes left. tire temperature will be playing a role at a certain point here, but it's just all about getting the rubber that you got on the circuit, lay down the maximum power, and especially on these exits towards this middle straight here and on the backstretch. Those are some of the most important corners on circuit. Turn 10, all about slow in, fast out. If you overcommit, if you overcook the corners, you're going to end up losing not just tenths, but more like half of seconds and upwards of even more than that if you're not too careful. Lots of momentum, lots of speed, but at the end of the day, again, slow is fast, and that's what these drivers are going to be keeping in mind. Speaking of mind, Lucas here looks like he's on for a new potential pole position lap. He's just holding on to it, about dead even with it into sector 3. Well, let's see how exactly he fares into the final sector and into the final corners. Is it going to be enough? Do we have a new pole position time? 2:00.6 is the time to beat, and it's 2 thousandths off of the mark. My goodness.
Unbelievably close here up at the front. João Azevedo, Lucas Mine has got to be beating himself right now for being 2 thousandths away from that provisional pole position. Tim Kennedy right now, personal best through sector 2 as he comes around, tiptoeing his way around, but 56 seconds left on the clock. He might get this lap plus one more. It doesn't look like he's doing a personal best through sector 1 right now.
It doesn't look like it, but we also still have a bit of track left, but it's certainly going to be a bit of a press to gain 2 seconds after losing 7 tenths there. I think we do have our top 2 sitters at least seated pretty much where they're going to end up in the race here. But what a close melee, and if this is going to transition over into the race session, we are on for an absolute show here tonight with the LMGT3 category. Will it be down to strategy? Will it be down to pace or contact? Well, stick around and find out. Qualifying shortly going to be done.
I think it's all going to come down to how the drivers in the LMGT3 category are willing to negotiate time with the hypercars, because the hypercars are going to get a little excited through 5, 6, and 7, as well as turns 11 and turn 12, trying to make their way past where they really can't find a way through. If a hypercar tries to make their way through at turn 5, 6, or 7, it's not going to be a good day. Their closing speed, their apexing speed is roughly about the same through the very slow corners. Through the twisty bits, obviously the hypercars have a lot more downforce, so they're able to navigate them a little bit better, but trying to go around the outside line through 5, 6, and 7 will be detrimental to the hypercars' efforts.
You very much will. And a big thank you as well there to Crow All Joe. Thank you very much. Welcome to the team for hitting that follow button here at TRACKILICIOUS. Getting ever closer to that 2,500 mark. Thank you guys so much for being a part here at the community. One Bigley, one of the big community members as well. Again, shout out to him for the $5 dono pre-stream. He's out on circuit, 5th quickest right now. However, not quite improving.
No, he was green through sector 1, lost a heap of time through sector 2. He's 1.7 off of his personal best. He's got some improvement to be found right now, and hopefully he can do that when the race session gets going. He does improve, on his personal best. His best time will be a 2:03.9. I apologize, he made it all up through sector 3.
Yes, very managed to get a green lap out of that. Still more time on the board, unfortunately, for One Bigley, that middle sector. He's got to rein in for the actual race session there. Gains him a couple tenths, and he's still sitting right behind Will Brunner, who was out on circuit and looking to set another lap. However, I don't think he needs to. I think everybody is all done and dusted at this point, unless we'll see. Obviously, he can improve. That's obviously a thing that he can do, but is he out on... It doesn't look like he's going particularly fast. I don't think he's actually out on a lap.
Potentially not on a valid lap right now, perhaps just doing a cider to get his grips with the track right now. But as AGT Diaz says, first lap will be a nightmare. So cold tires, yes, it will be absolutely brutal, especially during these temperatures. It should be 19 degrees on track, if not a little bit cooler due to the nightfall of this event. But yeah, it'll be absolutely brutal for all the drivers to get through cleanly on lap 1. And who knows, we might even see the hypercars catch up to the GT3 field before they've gotten a full heat cycle into their tires by lap 4.
Very well could be the case. With that, of course, anyone wondering why the heck is that the case? We obviously got these cars of tire warmers. Well, no, they don't. Not in this series of racing. That's one of the newer changes in this style is, of course, they got rid of the tire warmers, and it's all about the drivers getting the raw and mechanical heat into there, getting on the brakes throughout their outlet, making sure they get not just the surface temperatures heated up, but the core temperatures, the brake temperatures. Every one of those dials that you have, you want to be dialed in and to the maximum. At least that's the ideal. Obviously, no plan survives first contact, especially with the enemy. So we'll see what these drivers face out in the Bahrain desert here tonight.
Let's see if we can get this to work. I'm going to roll through the session details, if at all possible, and see if we can get this pulled up. Jake Bucknam in P1, sure, but we want to see qualifying. Thank you very much. Carl Sween in P1, Siege Engine in P2, Osvaldo Costa in P3, Mitchell Diaz in P4, Joseph German in P5, Barrios in 6, Brandon Pfeiffer in 7th, Daniel Meyer in 8th, Rod Skyhook in 9th, Pedro Lima in 10th, and that'll be your top 10 for qualifying in the hypercar category. And then GT3.
For the GT3, the LMGT3s, of course, we have João Azevedo up on the pole position with the other Brazilian, Lucas Mind, alongside Tim Kennedy, third fastest, BMW 3 in the front, with the two Corvettes behind, Xavier Crabb and Will Brunner, 4th and 5th respectively, one Bigley in 6th, Ryan Lentilli in 7th, Drew Burkowski in 8th, and DC87 underscore with a follow. Thank you very much.
And we'll try to make sure that this works as well as we try to get the...
lab has started.
Oh, maybe we won't get the starting order going.
Formation lap has started. Carl Sween, there you can see up front with CJ Engine alongside, and that's about it.
Well, the formation lap is underway, so we'll have to conclude that for now. I apologize.
This is a short formation lap, right? Are we on the start-finish straight here? I think we are. Yes, there is pit lane. So we are 2x2 Noah's Ark formation, getting ready here to go green immediately. Cold tires for everybody, and the green flag waves, and it's a scatter. 3 wide immediately right now for Sween, Diaz, and Costa as they try to battle it out right now in the front. 3 wide down into the braking zone. Is someone going to try to contest it for a 4th? No. Carl Sween getting away very handedly. There, Costa getting by Diaz and German in 4th. Barrios behind as all of the cars squabble for their positions, trying to get any form of advantage they can. Now, João, I think, still leading that LMGT3 category, but side-by-side battling. Diaz, Costa almost take each other out. There's a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of racing, but everybody keeps it between the mayo and the mustards for the most part.
24 drivers taking to the start of this grid. It was going to be mad for the hypercars to make their way through. Joseph German found himself getting into P3 right off the snap of that corner exit of T3 and working his way through 4 and now through 5, 6, 7 and on our way through turn 8 right now. It's looking pretty neat and tidy for most of the drivers as they come through turn 10 now, but there's still going to be more battling yet to follow here in the few moments after this.
Yeah, Carl Sween getting away quite well. If we can take a look, though, at the LMGT3 category, I see a battle for the lead happening right now. That's going to be the 2 Brazilians locking arms in there, down into the braking zone, the 46, I'm pretty sure. That's going to be João, actually. Yes, still leading over the 31 of Lucas Mind. They continue their squabbling, and I don't see any discretion between the two. I have a feeling right now Lucas is going to be trying to get the hurry up on early, pull an early advantage, and gain that lead that he has in the past few races.
Yeah, he's going to try. Tim Kennedy now side by side with Will Brunner in the Corvette on the inside line coming into the following corner. The BMW goes for a lunge. The number 46 gets touched in the rumpus there by the number 82. And now it's 1, 2, 3. Tim Kennedy leads over Will Brunner, and then Xavier Crabb in the number 81. Also the yellow Corvette lurking in the background with the American flag splattered across the hood as they come across the line for the very first time.
And with that here, these three drivers dive bomb from the Corvette there, the 82 down to the inside. Is he going to be able to commit? No, he's a little too far back to make that one stick. Gets his nose, though, pressed right back into it and sends it back around. Now the Corvette, though, in the back, pressuring the other one. Who are we looking at?
I got you.
I don't know who it is. I wish the LMU, if you're watching, could you have indicators on who we're looking at, please? Thank you. There we go. Will Brunner, followed by Crab, followed in front of Kennedy. There we go. We've established it.
Tim Kennedy leads over Will Brunner over Xavier Crab for those of you keeping track at home. And this three-way battle is sure going to remain spicy, as all three of these guys had very close lap times in their qualifying stint. But right now, Tim Kennedy being the cork in the bottle of these three drivers, and the Corvette in the middle of Will Brunner having a little bit of a slip up, and Xavier Crab might want to pounce here going in towards turn 11. Not sure if he'll have the overlap to be able to do so, but he sure will be looking like he wants to do so. Ryan Latillian being the first of the DNFers of this event so far. The number 46 BMW drops out, and so do his championship contention tries.
Absolutely gutting there. Also Saagar Discord. Xavier Crab, though, in the hunt, still trying to gain any advantage over Brunner. I feel like we've seen these two locked up in previous races as well, and they continue to hash it out throughout the night here. Is this the opportunity that Crab's been looking for into 14 and 15? You're not really looking to make the move here. You're more looking to set it up, but not like that. Crab, unfortunately, Crab walks off to the side of the road, and that is going to be a good 5/10 lost in the blink of an eye.
In a blink of an eye is 0.2 of a second, according to Mike Nause. And for those of you keeping track at home, let's go check out the Hypercar battle, as there is a few of them battling right now. We're going to look at Siege Engine chasing down Daniel Meyer and Brandon Pfeiffer. And then you got Osvaldo Costa and Santiago Barrios leading this little pack of 5-6 hypercars. It's never-ending train right now. You'd call this a DRS train, but none of that's available here for these vehicles tonight.
No, not for these specific makes or models. But we're also not seeing too much squabbling around. I saw the BMW of Barrios, I think that was, having a little look to German, but I don't think it was really much of a it was just a half-hearted effort. Nothing that was going to be committed to. It was more just a scare tactic. CJ Engine, similar feel here, in my opinion, as he's just trying to hunt down Meyer. Not really posturing to make a move, not really telegraphing an overtake. I think these drivers are kind of almost working together as a Daytona-esque performance, and on cue, CJ Engine going for a little bit of a shake and bake, but, well, unfortunately, nothing cooking in the oven just yet.
He's still trying, he's still working hard for it. All it takes is one tiny little slip up for any one of these drivers, and an overtaking opportunity can present itself. Let's go back to João Azevedo and Lucas Mines battles. They're still separated by just a few tenths. Number 46 chasing down the number 31 of Lucas Mine out in front.
And Lucas Mind, as we know, he is one of those drivers, hasn't had too much contention for the actual battling. Lori, thank you very much for the follow as well. But João here, with the new driver, not new driver, he was around, of course, in the previous race as well, no, but he is really giving a run for the money right now of the fellow countrymen of Lucas Mind.
Yeah, he's doing very well for himself, and you can tell already the hypercar field has already started to catch up to these battling LMGT3s, and this is where we're gonna start to see some separation, like oil and water, between these cars as the hypercar field tries to make their way through. That should be Carl Seween, who's about 2.5 up the road from Mitchell Diaz, Joseph German in third place, Santiago Barrios in fourth place, Osvaldo Costa in fifth place in the hypercar category, but still only separated by 2 or 3 tenths between Osvaldo Costa and Santiago Barrios. It's anybody's podium right now.
It really is anyone's game for the top, and we'll see as it continues on right now. Zhao seems to be posturing for moves, but again, just biding his time. This is that patience game that we're talking about. Bahrain is a circuit of strategy. We mentioned the fact it's never been resurfaced. You can even see how dusty it is too. LMU doing a great job to model that. Of course, we're basically in the middle of the desert, and it's quite windy here. So when you go offline, you can see all of those marbles. There's more than just tire rubber over there. There's little grains of sand that do not help you whatsoever when you're going under braking.
Absolutely. LMU has done a phenomenal job to emulate how tricky this track is, and as well as when you're driving it, getting punished by track limits by going off into the runoff areas that are just a little bit more asphalt or a little bit more gravel than they are asphalt. And look at that camera shot right through the crack of the curb. That was absolutely phenomenal to see. This cameraman's having a little bit of issue with his Tourette syndrome or his Parkinson's issue, but everybody else doing just fine. The cameraman doing a great job for us here at LMU. Thank you so much to the LMU team for putting together such a wonderful product. We sure are looking forward to more future updates as time goes on.
Certainly looking like quite the promising simulator, and of course we're looking forward to look at all those lights, the brilliant light show, the wacky waving arm flailing inflatable tube man on Spa-Francorchamps. How more realistic could you get? You can't. That's the short answer. You really can't. Lentillion, Ryan Lentillion, with a raiding party of 20. First off, thank you very much for the raid. Second off, why are you not out on the racetrack?
Poor Lentillion, sorry about your start to the race or your DNF. I was really rooting for you, Ryan Lentillion. Hopefully we'll see you on track next week sometime as the battle for this championship still continues. You're holding on to third place and had a run potentially to get around Lucas Mine and Zhao Azevedo as these two cars are battling it out, separated by 0.4 of a second right now, and doing a pretty good job of keeping it clean. I'm going to switch over to Siege Engine and watch him engine away and chase down Daniel Meyer.
And start procedure gave a drive through. That is absolutely gutting. Again, new simulators, new bugs, new start procedures. Everybody figures out these issues in certain ways, and hopefully we don't see that one too much. This battle, though, directly in front of our eyes, CJ Engine really giving a nice little hurry up on right now to the Ferrari, the 499 in front, and that's going to be Daniel Meyer, of course, in the 51. He's doing a good job of holding on. Daniel here from previous races as well, just taking a look at the past results here for the Hypercar category, hasn't had necessarily the greatest showing all the way around. I mean, he has had a decent result. We take a look at some of the drivers in his area. CJ Engine, first off, this is his first race, actually, now that I'm looking at it. So he had a DNS and no start. So CJ, a promising new prospect in the LMU field as well.
Yeah, Siege Engine's doing a good job of capitalizing on that entry towards turn 10 right now. He's closing down to the 51 of Daniel Meyer out in front, doing a good job, and it looks like he might take a lunge up the inside line coming into turn 11, but no, he's way too far back to make that opportunity a successful one.
Yeah, just...
Oh!
Wait. Okay,
he does make that happen.
Don't really know how to process that one, but either way, CJ Engine through and into 7th as we had a bit of a miscommunication, a mistake, a missed opportunity. I don't know what that was from the Ferrari, but they were missing something.
And checking with Osvaldo Costa as he chases down Brandon Pfeiffer. It seems like the Toyotas are actually running very well akin to their counterparts in this real-life scenario, and this number 8 of Osvaldo Costa doing well to chase down the Corvette out in front. The number 3 closing down under the braking zone very well. One of the benefits that the Toyota has is its tire management, able to go with softer compounds of tires and run a little bit longer than most, so therefore increasing its speed, and it's sure showing like it's increasing its speed as the gap has come down to around 0.3 of a second between the number 3 and the number 8.
Yeah, that could be tire wear. I'd be pretty concerned if tire wear was an issue for Brandon Pfeiffer at the moment, considering the fact we're only about 12 minutes into this race. We still got a long ways to go on these tires. Now, keep in mind, everybody does need to come in, not for fuel necessarily, but for the virtual energy. And of course, that being a little bit of a different system. There we can see the compounds that the drivers are on. Pretty much everybody on the same strategy for the most part, Saagar.
Yeah, everybody except for Joseph German. I wonder if that indication means that on the left sides, he's actually decided to run soft tires, and on the right side, he's decided to run the medium compound tires. That would be very interesting for his cause, and he's the only driver to be able to do so, Joseph German, in that number 7 Toyota, running in 4th place right now.
To be fair, I didn't know you could do that. The more you know, and Osvaldo Costa, not going to be getting too close. He knows exactly how big that car is. Just giving us, as in the commentary booth, a little bit of a scare, and maybe a little bit of a scare to the number 3 in front of him. Pfeiffer, though, got to wake up pretty early in the morning to catch him out of bed like that.
Also, a battle for the lead of the race right now. This is a battle for the lead of the race. It looks like Mitchell Diaz in the number 5, chasing down the 35 of Carl Sween. They're separated by just 0.4 of a second right now, coming in towards turn 1, and Sween's getting backed up by an LMGT3 car, and the number 5 trying to snake his way through right now. They are able to work their way forward, but they've got a Corvette that they're going to catch at the apex of turn number 4, it looks like. Who's going to be on the inside? The number 5 makes his way there, presently alongside that number 35, snaking his way through. I'm sure that Camaro wasn't too pleased about that overtake, but this is an amazing battle between P1 and P2 right now. Mitchell Diaz tracing Carl Sween by just half a second right now.
Yeah, I don't think that Corvette had much of a choice, to be completely honest, to get out of the way, and with Mitchell Diaz barging his way on through, saying, get out of my way, boy, I have a mission, and that mission is Carl Sween, who is directly in front of me. I have the slipstream, I have the exit, and on the run now, down towards 11. Is this going to be the chance? Is this going to be the opportunity? Mitchell Diaz looks to the inside. He's just trying to sell the dummy right now, but Carl Sween, he's not biting.
Yeah, and GT3, LMGT3 rules for the blue flag, as Anthony Davidson put it during the, oh my goodness, the number 5 looking on the inside, getting boxed in by lap traffic is the number 35 of Carl Sween, Mitchell Diaz. Whoa, that was an off-track overtake for sure by the number 35, getting by the number, who is that in that Corvette? That must be Xavier Crab in last place, the number 81. It has to be, but man, that was an inverse for position for P1, P2 in the standings.
Yeah, Mitchell Diaz got really lucky right there, and obviously at a certain level of talent, luck and skill become indistinguishable, but that one was luck, to be completely honest. He got the back marker at the right time, and we all know the saying, back markers giveth and back markers taketh away, and Carl Sween, well, he had his position 1 taken away from. Still long ways to go in this race, 44 minutes and 56 seconds. He's still within sight. He's within biting distance, and it's just about keeping him on the line right now, trying to tire Mitchell Diaz out, and eventually you can reel him in just enough to potentially get the chance to sink the hook.
Absolutely, he's working his way, but working his way backwards right now as the gap has increased to 1.3, 1.4 seconds right now. And as I was saying before, I got rudely interrupted by this epic battle for P1 in the Hypercars. And we'll switch over to João Azevedo and Lucas's Mines battle right now. As I was saying, Anthony Davidson did a good job of explaining in the Hypercar LMGT3 battles, when you get blue flags, it is up to the passing car's responsibility to pass cleanly. Although a penalty can be handed out to a car that receives a blue flag that does not get out of the way or yield the corner to the faster car as well. So not saying that that opportunity was unwarranted by Carl Sween to go on around the outside, but penalties could potentially be handed out to the LMGT3 category for not yielding those corners. Although whoever that was, whether it was Xavier Crab or Will Brunner, both of them, they just sat in their lane and had nowhere else to go because they were in a bit of a hypercar sandwich.
Yeah, that was pretty much, I mean, yeah, you said it about as well as I could have. nowhere that the Corvette could have done anything. And was that penalty worthy? No, I don't think so. It was a very exuberant chance, and he got around a non-overtake around the outside, and he still lost a position. So, I mean, I think the damage was done for Carl Sween. He doesn't deserve a penalty for going off track and overtaking to see and losing the position. That would just be brutal.
And this is actually a scenario that got brought up during the 2024 WEC Championship at the finale at Bahrain. Was that exact situation where a hypercar overtook an LMGT3 around the outside. I believe it was turn 9, and they asked themselves if that position had to be handed back, but due to the blue flag regulations. You're absolutely right, Mike Nause. No penalties to be given, especially when the position's already been lost. And João Azevedo, and excuse me, that's Lucas Mind inverting positions. The battle between a hypercar and a LMGT3 a little bit strange as they come through turn 10. But like I said earlier on in the broadcast, their apexing speeds are so similar sometimes that you can almost get held up by the hypercar out in front.
Very, very heavy machines. Everything is out there on track. But even the hypercars, they are particularly weighty. The LMGT3s, they're going to be coming in anywhere around that 2,600 to probably 2,900 to about 3,400 pounds, give or take, maybe like 1,500 kilograms. Still, though, not quite the easiest to lumber around the corners. I don't have an exact weight on the hypercars. I don't know, chat. If anyone has an exact number on the hypercar weight, save me a little bit of homework, or else I'll look it up. João, though, here, pretty much getting away a bit, or rather I should say Lucas has gotten away much more than I would have expected at this stage in the race. João Azevedo still in sight, but for the most part the battling has ceased. Now, is this due to lap traffic? It very well might be. Or is this just settling in? João says, you know, it is what it is. We got a long time left in the race. I'll make the overtake in the pit stop, or I'll just make it a little bit later.
Yeah, and like Subs has said, the weight limit for these cars is 1,030 kilograms, and you'll see that pretty much averaged across all the cars and almost identical around the cars due to the limiting factors. And Nolan Siegel says, I wonder if Katy Perry is going to release music this year. And it's early in 2025 as there goes a Toyota off to the inside of the snake of turns 5, 6, and 7. And like we said earlier, it'll be awfully eager of these hypercars to try to make overtaking opportunities happen through 5, 6, and 7. And there we saw why the closing speed's just a little too fast. And those LMGT3s, they need an apex too, you know.
There's going to be a lot of learning when it comes to multi-class, and honestly, this is something, I don't know, Alex K probably already has a video on, is how to race multi-class. If not, Alex, get on that. Check out Alex K's YouTube channel. Highly recommend it for anything Le Mans Ultimate related at this point. Any information regarding the cars, the game, and any updates to come as well, definitely head on over, check out Alex K, and hit that subscribe button.
Absolutely. Let's check out the battle between Siege Engine and Daniel Meyer as the number 8 chases down the number 51 up the inside, making a steep look, but Doe returns to the racing line and backs out of it. This should be at the entry of turn 4, if I'm not mistaken. No, that'll be the final corner. As you can see, the Bahrain logo and the start finish straight now, and headed towards turn 1. The number 51 leads over the number 8 of Siege Engine behind.
We'll see. Can CJ go for it? He's taking a look down to the inside. He's gone deep. Can he get it stopped in time? Well, yes, but he still doesn't gain the position. The 51 immediately gives him the squeeze back there, and CJ Engine, with a very exuberant look, he unfortunately doesn't get the job done yet. Now, the thing is does that reveal his hand as well? Was that the best chance that he had to make the overtake? Because now Daniel knows that that's going to be on the cards in the future. He can cover it, he can respond to it, and he knows how to defend it now because he has experience.
Absolutely. The 51 did a good job with heads-up driving there in towards turn 1 to kind of just not turn in too early and then snap right back going in towards turn 2 and turn 3. Had the optimum line of entry and carried enough speed to not have the number 8 snap back at him. Here we are coming through turn 11, and now the number 8 of Siege Engine looks like he had a big mistake coming in through turn 10, and that'll force him to battle it out with Rod Skyhook in the number 7. Will the number 7 go to the inside line for turn 11. I don't think he's able to do so. Nose to tail right now for the 7 and 8 Toyota Gazoo racing cars.
They may be Toyota Gazoo racing cars by affiliation, but I can assure you there is no sisterhood here whatsoever. The gloves are off. Just because they share the same livery and the same team does not mean they want to share two positions with each other. Only one can have it. Rod Skyhook is going to give it his all, so is CJ Engine, but CJ right now seems to have gotten it back under control after that little mistake and is starting to take back off.
Yeah, he's taking back off. That best lap time out of Siege Engine being a 48.4 compared to Rod Skyhook's 49.0. So anything that Siege can do will really put him away from Rod Skyhook in the background behind. Going back to the GT3 battle, Lucas Mine and João Azevedo still chasing each other down. The gap remains half a second between the two drivers right now. João is doing a phenomenal job to make up the time again through the entire hypercar field, chopping their way through the two of them, getting separated and losing some time in some places, but able to gain it back in other places where Lucas Mind may have gotten backed up just a hair.
Yeah, but where do you make the move, though, if you're João? What do you do when you're just stuck like this? Or are you? Again, that's the question that I keep asking myself in the back of my mind. I feel like João is pushing. I think he's giving it everything he's got. But also in the back of my mind, I think maybe he isn't. Maybe he's playing that long card, playing the long game, and just is letting Lucas Mind use the tires, use the fuel up and the virtual energy, and then worry about him later when he can gain the advantage. Save all of that, take less fuel in the stop, not worry about his tires towards the end, and then maybe you can make a strategic play with 5 minutes left, with 10 minutes left, heck, maybe on the last lap.
Potentially, but João Azevedo has been pushing. He has the fastest lap of the race right now in the LMGT3 field, a 2-minute .627 compared to Lucas Mind, excuse me, and his 2-minute .817. So the pace is definitely going João's way, and he has the ability to get caught up to Lucas Mind out in front. But catching is one thing, passing will be a whole nother thing for that number 31. That BMW gets awfully wide, especially at a fast flowing track like Bahrain. The only real place that you can make your move is going into turn 1 with a big send, turn 4, or potentially even turn 4, say turn 11. That's really your only passing opportunities in these LMGT3 cars.
Yeah, and speaking of that, if we could take a look down for 20th and 21st right now, One Bigley and Xavier Crab kind of there in a little bit of a tango themselves. Whoa, my goodness. In fact, they were almost in a full-on salsa dance right there. Xavier Crab almost goes deep into the side panel there of One Bigley, but thankfully, Jacob, he is on the ball and on his best behavior. He doesn't need to worry too much about the awfully Ferrari-shaped Corvette in the background.
What were you going to call that car, Mike Nause? I'm just curious.
Corvette. I just couldn't think of the name, to be completely honest.
You were going to call it a Camaro, weren't you?
No, I wasn't. I just forgot the name. So it's just a straight up my bad moment on that one.
Not to point out your flaws, but I just thought you were going to say the Camaro again, because we've been there before. I've done it before, and by golly, I'll do it again if I need to. Did I do it earlier?
You did. You didn't realize me correcting you. That's okay. It's all good. Trust me. I'll make the same mistake at some point. Of course, the Chevy. Well, you can just call it a Chevy, right?
Yeah, exactly. What did I call it? I called it a Camaro. I did call it a Camaro.
Definitely, you did call it a Camaro earlier. Yes. Like I said, pay no mind to the man behind the curtain.
Washed Up Squid in chat. What's going on, Washed Up Squid? Throw us down some of those Squid games. Thank you very much for being here, my friend. And thank you very much to everybody joining us in chat. Russ Money McMillan says, definitely called it a Camaro. Well, thank you very much for throwing me under the bus, Russ Money. Appreciate your love.
Threw yourself under the bus.
I'm going to give you the commentaries curse the next time I see you on track, Russ.
Either way, why don't we take a look up at, to be honest, the LMGT3 field's the closest right now. I mean, we have Osvaldo and Meyer. They're still kind of in their little dance. We got a three-way fight up ahead, I guess, in the LMP category. In the LMP category. The Hypercar category. And, of course, that'll be for 5th, 6th, and 7th. I think 3 drivers all trying to go for that. I'm still not too convinced from Zhao just yet. I think he's waiting. I don't think he's actually posturing for a move right now. I have not seen a lick of aggression out of the body language of Azevedo.
No, you definitely have not seen any aggression or any desperation either. I think he knows that this is a very long race and he's got a long way left to go. The last thing you want to do is go for an early passing opportunity that doesn't really warrant any opportunity and then have Lucas Mind exert that aggression right back and it really just slow you both down, especially with the hypercar field now making their way through one more time. That's the number 11 of Jake Bucknam, and that might be the opportunity that the 46 needed to go through, but no, it is not. There's two number 11s. That might have been Randy Gross, or was it Jake Bucknam? That was Bucknam, excuse me, who got tangled up in there.
Tangled up? Oh man, Lucas, buddy. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there with the net code, but I mean, in all seriousness, at least when it comes down to it, when Armageddon comes, I want to be in a bunker made of Lucas Mind's face, because that car just took a full-on, well, he turned into the hypercar, but he took a full-on slap from a hypercar, and it did nothing to that M4.
Those BMWs are basically tanks driving on rails. Mr. Mowers Emporium says, not me, so perhaps that wasn't Jake Bucknam. And Jake Bucknam made his way through. That had to have been Randy Gross then.
Yeah, it must have been Randy Gross. Either way, whoever that was, I was not. I mean, like I say, it wasn't their fault. We'll let the stewards decide. But I'm just from first glance on that one, I'm pretty sure the hypercar was as tight to the inside as they reasonably could be. Now the argument is should they have been there? In my opinion, yes, but either way, we'll find out.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to the blue flag rules. The slower traffic car is receiving a blue flag, therefore, technically it has to leave the racing room there on the inside line, but that's only according to Anthony Davidson. He's not stuck driving a simulator with the rest of us, so who cares what Anthony Davidson has to say? But he is a handsome man, I will say that.
Also, I care what he has to say. He's pretty smart when it comes to everything GT racing, so I'll take his word for it.
And he was a hypercar driver at one point as well.
Yeah, he's driven a lot of things throughout his days.
Quite achieved, and he's got a good friend named Danica Patrick. Danica, if you're watching, what's up, girl?
True. Yeah, shout out Danica Patrick. Why not?
Gotta do it while I can. Let's go back to Siege Engine and Daniel Myers' battle. This one's been raging on for at least the past 10 minutes, and they haven't gotten any more separated. 2/10 is the gap right now. We saw Siege Engine try to make a late braking move in towards turn one. Will he go for another one here as well on the number 51? I don't think so this time around. I think he realizes that that move won't exactly work out in his favor, as the 51 was able to pull out a bit of a drag race through turn 2 and turn 3 to get the position back. Siege Engine falling in line right now. Almost identical best lap times from Daniel Meyer and Siege Engine. 148.0 to a 148.051.
Yeah, and so just going back to looking at purely the car body language alone of these machines, and CJ here, whilst yes, he looks like he's going for a look every now and then, they're very half-hearted attempts, and I don't really think they're much of more than just trying to do something a little bit different than the car ahead. We see the 51 there snapping around a little bit, but it's still fairly planted, trying to negotiate through the Corvette there of presumably Brunner. Does get by without any issue there, neither of the cars. But CJ here, I think this is just, again, maybe a game of strategy, and it's a matter of when do you come in. If you're CJ, you're not going to pit first. You want to use that slipstream. You want to use that benchmarker to your advantage here and try to gain for the long term. You want to maybe force the hand there of the car in front, and it's questionable. We're at that halfway point, Saagar. So when do you think these drivers start to pull the trigger and come in for that virtual energy?
I thought that they would have pit sooner rather than later, because the overcut is so weak in these hypercars, especially if you decide to change tires as well. It's best to come in early, get the heat and the tires back up and generated, and do those fast laps when you have clean air, rather than come in out of a battle and then have the cold tires bequeath you and really slow you down on your outlap in the final remaining laps that you do have. Because like you said earlier on, Mike Nause, it'll take 2 or 3, maybe even 4 laps before the heat will become fully generated in these tires. If you dissipate all that heat too soon, you might not even get enough laps remaining in the race to get back up to speed again.
That's very, very true. And my only counter, I'm not arguing this, by the way. I think you're probably right, but I also just don't know, because at the same time, you could say, well, what about the slipstream? I mean, this is a circuit. This circuit in particular, while I would agree with you on most tracks with that, there's a lot of slipstreaming and a lot of chances just to stick behind the car in front and make them do the hard work. That is going to allow less air pushing down on your car, and you're going to be getting a little bit more heat as well, so that could also potentially heat your tires up. So pitting later puts you behind them again. I don't know. Is it optimal? To be honest, again, I have no idea. We're just spitballing at this point.
I would honestly think that the dirty air would be hurting them more, especially coming through 5, 6, and 7, as well as 11 and 12, 13. I would think that the dirty air would hurt the car behind more than actually helping, but obviously the slipstream is an advantage coming down the long straightaway from 15 to turn 1, turn 3 into turn 4, and 13 down to 14. Long straightaways here where you can gain a huge amount of time, but you can also lose a ton of time coming through the fast twisty bits.
Yeah, this track, it reminds me of Daytona a lot, you know, where it's a lot of, you want a buddy, I feel like, on this circuit. You want to be with somebody at all times, and you don't really want to leave their side because you can help them and they can help you. But again, I'm just theorizing. I don't necessarily know. This Bahrain track, whilst it's new to the drivers, it's also new to me, to be completely honest. Besides the Formula One stuff that I've seen here, unfortunately, haven't seen the most IMSA. I need to watch more IMSA and WEC, to be completely honest, because I'm just uninformed.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to get our most data that we can possibly accrue to know more about LME without driving it ourselves, is watching WEC, watching IMSA, seeing how these Hypercar GTPs end up going around and how they fare. GTP and Hypercars being synonymous for each other. Depending on what series you're in, GTP is being used in IMSA, Hypercar is being used in the WEC Championship. The only car that really hasn't come over, and is that Sween and Barrios. It is Sween and Barrios. Barrios in P2 right now. Excuse me, that's not going to be Sween. Who is that going to be?
Yeah, that's Sween.
That
Barrios currently in second, Sween leading right now, Carl Sween in the front. We've had a position change because Sween was behind Barrios at one point in time, so they've swapped around once more. We missed that, unfortunately. Now Barrios, though, back in the wing mirror and looking to make moves in the future. Yellow flag is also out and cleared. No harm for that. Barrios, though, again, when do you do that? I guess when was the last time he made the move? It was through 14-15, right?
I believe so, yes sir, and that was with an LMGT3 car getting involved in that action, and now no more LMGT3 cars to be found unless you're further up the road, and time will give it and time will take it away with these LMGT3 cars. But will Barrios find the same opportunity yet again? I'm not so quite sure. Like you said last time, he got pretty lucky with that one, and I'm not sure he'll find that same luck twice in one race.
Well, let's see. Back markers already coming back into roll, and Barrios hesitant to get by the sister BMW or the M4 car. Whoa! That's Sween! That was Sween Round, no? Who is that? Was that somebody else?
No, I think that was...
what was someone else?
That was a Peugeot. I'm not sure what number that was. Andre Alex Alfonso, potentially. Whew. Yeah, I think that was the number 93 of Alex Alfonso spun around the wrong way. So a little bit of a jump scare there for Mike Nause. For those of you keeping track at home, Carl Sween and Santiago Barrios still involved in their head-to-head battle. 1 second is the gap separating the two of them right now.
Very, very similar liveries to Carl Sween in that car that spun. I do have to say so myself. That was terrifying. I just saw a car exit pit lane, did I not? The car currently ahead of One Bigley slipping and sliding around there, just trying to get the back marker, the front marker, to go by them. I think we're starting to see a couple drivers into pit lane. Will Brunner, he's currently in. Drew Burakovsky currently in. CJ Engine coming out. And I think this more than likely is going to be the trickle-down effect of everybody coming into pit lane. But Saagar, again, what you said earlier, I have to agree with you in that this seems late, no? Where a lot of these drivers are going to be struggling to get heat into the tires by the last lap.
Unless they're just simply going for splashes and dashes, and that's it. And that'll be One Bigly pinching down the number 5 there on Apex. These two drivers are going head-to-head, racing for position overall between 3 and 4 is what they're battling for. The two identical cars in their 46 liveries. That'll be One Bigly behind Zhao Azevedo, but Azevedo should be able to pull away from this one as he's about 3/10 better on his purple lap.
Yeah, very close. One Bigly there. Weaving? Or was no, that's the car in front of One Bigly weaving. Yes, indeed. Jose, no, it's is it Azevedo? It is Azevedo, but of course, yes, they're on different pit strategies, as you just said. That makes a whole lot of sense. So eventually One Bigly here is going to have to come into pit lane, and he'll have to concede this position, and the two 46s will be off frame from each other, and then we don't have to look at the same liveries on screen to you know, emphasize further confusion.
Well, it looks like Azevedo Costa still chasing down the car in front, flashy of the headlights from the number 8 as he's trying to chase down Daniel Meyer. Looks at the inside line of the number 31 through 10, able to snake his way through the number 31. That would be Lucas Mine, the P1 leader right now, as he just got passed, and now it looks like there's a big gap between Lucas Mine and Tim Kennedy behind about 30 seconds, but Lucas Mine should have to still make a pit stop towards the end of this one.
Yeah, exactly. Lucas going for the long haul here, and is that going to cost him? Yeah, or Zhao is going to have all of his temperature into his tires by the time Lucas comes back out on a circuit. Now, these drivers don't need to take a mandatory set of tires. They just need to take a little bit of virtual energy, pretty much, and some fuel, more or less. But is it the optimal strategy to do so? I think at this point, no. There's really no point, but you're still going to come out on cold tires irregardless.
Yeah, the heat will definitely dissipate from those tires regardless of if you're doing a tiny splash and dash or not. You will definitely be losing some amount of heat, and perhaps some drivers trying to go as far as they can before taking that splash and dash and not go, holy smokes, a bump in the rump there from the number 8 into the 93 going in towards turn 1, just as Muff SDR got us on the podium, and Mike Nause also shouted in my ear, holy smokes.
That was perfect. Thank you very much, Justin Moffat, for hitting the golden sub button right there. That was money. Okay, now that has made my evening. We still can go back to the race here. We still got plenty of racing to go. However, a lot of the gaps are gapped, to be completely honest. We have a couple battles still out on circuit, but Carl Sween is pretty much checked out in the lead. Barrios, 2.5 behind, not quite out of the conversation, but not quite in it either. He's kind of almost in earshot, eavesdropping distance, you might say, but not quite enough to be a part of it. Lucas Mine also fairly checked out, but we'll check out when the pit stop happens, how that actually plays down into roll. Tim Kennedy in second, Zhao in third, and he should be coming out pretty much alongside Lucas when all is said and done.
Or I wonder if some of these guys might be on a fuel-saving strategy, potentially doing some lifting and coasting there, especially coming in towards turn 9 and turn 10, and how that'll affect their pit stop strategy and how much virtual energy will they need to get to the end of the race. We've got about 20 minutes remaining before the end of this one, folks, and then the race will have concluded. So the drivers have to make that determination now, sooner rather than later at the very least, to just find out if they do want to come into the pits, or have they been saving enough fuel throughout this entire stint.
Of course, one of the things that we don't get to see as spectators is their virtual energy, not just yet, but we also don't get to see if, whoa, Oswaldo Costa there forcing the 51 into a mistake, and somehow Daniel Meyer held on to that car despite the fact that he was milking a cow. Also, Steven Tomazic, thank you very much for the gift sub as well, gifting a sub over to Trangisi Designs. Thank you so much, Steven, for gifting 33 subs in total. My goodness.
Thank you so much for the love and support to the TRACKILICIOUS family. And we're trying to get into something new, a little LMU for the crowd to get charged by. And hopefully you've been charged up by this race just as much as the virtual energy has been charged up for these drivers. And they've been keeping that energy topped up as much as possible and deploying it as much as possible during these tricky corners. Yeah, wow, that's a lot of damage, says Rose Gaming.
You know what I also just realized? First off, Muffman, 26 months from gift or from subs. That's almost a year. Let's not forget about that. And just got to get that in there. Big thank you. But yes, indeed. Osvaldo Costa, back to the actual race here at hand. The Osvaldo Costa, what do you do here? What do you do if you're in Costa's shoes? Do you go for Meyer at a certain point here, or do you just have to? I mean, I think you just have to wait, just considering the fact that Daniel Meyer, besides the one mistake that we've seen from him, has led over Costa since the word go.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Meyer has had one over Acosta for quite some time now. I think he's just really waiting for lap traffic to go his way. And there goes Daniel Meyer into the pits right in front of Osvaldo Acosta's lap time. So hopefully he can find a way to gain a little bit of time and momentum. But like I said earlier, the overcut strategy really will be challenging to pull off unless you really have the pace to be able to pull it all out during this 1 or 2 laps that you're going to decide to stay out there. I wish we could see the virtual energy to see how much Osvaldo Costa had been saving stuck behind Daniel Meyer. But if he hadn't been saving enough to get him to the end, he will have to pit within the next 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind the lap times here for these hypercars are 1:47s, and even, I mean, looking at the LMGT3s, they're at 2 minutes. They're very much similar on this circuit, with about 12 seconds on average separating the two machines. But with that, that is going to, yes, play a massive role as we go on down here, because they're not going to have enough heat in your tires, and Costa, he's struggling to keep up between the circuits. So not only is he on old tires and losing time purely from that, he's also driving off the circuit, which could cost him potential track limits, and it could cost him hurt and suffering with a barrier if you're not too careful.
Yeah, he better be careful. Thank God there's a lot of runoff here at the Bahrain circuit. It is a grade 1 FIA circuit, so the drivers pretty much won't have anything to worry about as so much as getting close to the barriers or getting close to the guardrails. Well, if SDR says, does that WEC overlay show us the virtual energy? Unfortunately, it is broken, and the developers are working on it right now, so hopefully we'll get that fixed within the next couple of updates or so, as we are still currently in the alpha phase and just getting used to LME broadcasting, so we will get those tools handed to us eventually. Osvaldo Costa staying out for another lap this time around, and he's quite a bit ahead of Daniel Myers, 28 plus 30. He's about 40 seconds ahead right now.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. We'll see when the pit stop comes. I mean, he has pretty much just been consistent on his lap times and hasn't really dropped anything just yet. For the most part, he's averaging around that 2-minute mark, and despite the fact Tim Kennedy in that 2:02, fastest lap though still does belong to João Azevedo. But has he been putting in laps recently that were fast? That is the question. Barring mistakes, barring back markers, barring so many different variables that these drivers have to put up with, and just the variable of Bahrain in general. We also have some support there for Lucas Mind as well. Naulu in chat, welcome, obrigado to all of the Brazilians that are watching, as it's been just a pretty much Brazilian show in the LMGT3 category with both João and Lucas.
Yeah, they really have been, and especially now Tim Kennedy getting involved with the front runners right now. The number 46 WRT car, actually, he's in second place right now, sandwiched between Lucas Mine and João Azevedo in the other 2 BMWs, but he will have to come in for a pit stop potentially coming in within the next 2 or 3 laps towards the end of this one.
Just double checking couple things here on my other monitor. My apologies. There we go. Tim Kennedy here. Yeah, all on his lonesome. He really has nobody in front, nobody behind. As Murray Walker would say, the car in front is as close to the car behind, and that's about the most exciting news here for Tim Kennedy.
Yeah, and hopefully the number 35, that'll be Carl Sween, getting past him now. Won't have too much to say as the 35 is able to get through at turns 5, 6, and 7, it looks like pretty aptly. Has nothing to write home about right now. And then Santiago Barrios, 1.7 away from Carl Sween. Joseph German in 3rd place. Brandon Pfeiffer in 4th place, Osvaldo Costa in 5th place, Rod Skyhook in 6th, Pedro Lima in 7th, Daniel Meyer in 8th, Mitchell Diaz in 9th, and Siege Engine rounding out your top 10 in the hypercar category.
And on to the LMGT3s, Lucas Mind leading Tim Kennedy over João Azevedo, Xavier Crabb in the 4th position, Will Brunner 5th, One Bigley in 6th, Drew Burkowski 7th, and Ryan Lentillion, unfortunately, with a DNF earlier on due to a drive-through and a bit of frustration, unfortunately, with the start procedures. That's neither here nor there. We will learn from our mistakes, and we will not make them in the future, and hopefully have the live stewards on standby to make sure that doesn't happen. Tim Kennedy here, though, getting overtaken by an LMGT3 like lightning, made that fairly easy. The best time and the best place to catch one of these slower cars is in a straight line, and that's exactly what we saw. Hadias, 1977, thank you very much for the follow.
Keeping an eye on Joseph German and Santiago Barrios. It looks like Joseph German inherits the lead of this one, getting around Carl Sween, as Sween and Barrios are both into the pit lane right now. Next up will be Brandon Pfeiffer in P2, then Barrios in 3rd, and Carl Sween in 5th place, and then Rod Skyhook, Pedro Lima. So things getting shaken up for the final 12 minutes of this race. Like I said earlier, will some drivers be able to go the entire distance just on fuel saving alone? I'm not too quite sure, Mike.
Where is Barrios right now? That's what I want to know. Where has Santiago ended up here when all is said and done? So he's coming out of pit lane, and he is coming out behind Carl Sween. Carl Sween's already out on circuit here, and with a significant distance. No, there's Carl right there, just coming out of shot. So, pretty much as they went in, they come out.
Actually, no, you were right the first time around. Looks like there's a 9.2 second gap. That'll be the 93 of Andre Alex Alfonso coming in the 12th place Peugeot car. And Santiago Barrios is separated by 9.9 seconds from Carl Sween right now. So perhaps taking more virtual energy, or perhaps taking a new set of tires to boot to go on the car. That is what slowed him down by a considerable amount of time, at least 8 seconds being the difference there.
Yeah, that is a huge margin. That's even more than I expected, to be completely honest. I thought that it was a gap, but I didn't think it was that much. Carl Sween, I think he set himself up pretty well here now, with Barrios being the variable. We're going to have to keep an eye on lap times. In the next couple laps, it shouldn't be too different, as the drivers will be getting heat into their tires. But with that being said, if Santiago Barrios did take new tires, as Saagar mentioned earlier, I don't think he's got time to heat them up.
Yeah, that's very true. He wouldn't have time to heat them up. Doing 148s, almost 2-minute laps, he wouldn't have time to heat them up if he did take additional tires. And that darn honking is still persistent as ever around the Bahrain circuit. And boy, is that maddening to me. Why would you stick a horn onto a car and have it honking at you in a simulator? It makes no sense to me. There it is again.
I don't think those are like honking horns, are they? I think those are those little horns that they give people in the audience.
That sounds nothing like an air horn. That sounds nothing like an air horn, Mike Nause.
That's a good point. I'll be honest, I can't hear it that well, so that's my excuse. But fair enough. Chat, is it an air horn or is it a car horn? Let us know.
You're blessed to not be able to hear that, Mike Nause. You're so blessed.
I'm sure chat's getting awfully enthused with it as we go. I do have it. Horn is when cars enter the pits.
No, it's
so
not.
Wait, is it?
I've proven it before.
Okay.
Okay,
got it.
I've proven it before. It's not just when a car comes into pits. Check out the earlier LMU streams from last 2 weeks ago, I think. It is not the same.
Fake news, chat.
Yeah,
fake news.
It happens randomly. It drives me nuts. Especially since it's just random. There
Yeah,
it is
that is a
again.
bit.
Tell me that someone's in the pits. Tell me that someone's in the pits right now. Lucas Mine into the pits. Okay.
As Saagar Bakshi is currently in the process of losing his mind, you are hearing the ramblings of a madman, everybody. Into pit lane, we also have another horn of Brandon Pfeiffer. He is our leader in the LMGT, no, in the Hypercar category, and he is in and no longer going to be leading. Osvaldo Costa will take that? Wait, what?
Osvaldo Costa also into the pit lane right now, so Carl Sween should regain the championship, or regain the P1. Yes, Carl Sween does regain P1 in this race right now. And where is Barrios? Barrios should be crossing the pit lane any moment now and regain P2 as long as nobody else pulls out a dummy on him or pulls out a quicker splash and dash than Carl Sween was able to do on him. More importantly, Lucas Mine still holds on to P1 in front of João Azevedo, and the gap is pretty substantial right now. 13 seconds between Lucas Mine and João Azevedo, the quickest splash and dash I've ever seen coming into the pit lane and out. And it looks like Tim Kennedy got bumped down in towards P3, 14 seconds away from João.
Yeah, Lucas Mine here, he has driven just to perfection, and you can see here holding up a LM Hypercar. Just a bit, but not too much of an issue there. Both drivers negotiate on by. It's just a poor time to get caught up to, unfortunately. But Lucas here, he's going for not just one, not just two. This is his hat trick of victories here. The third round of the championship, and he's looking to take all three of them in a row.
Yeah, Lucas Mine has been on a rampage. Let's check out Santiago Berrios as he chases down Brandon Pfeiffer and Joseph German to regain that P2 that he so desperately was trying to hold on to, and even P1 at one point in the race trying to hold on, but not able to hold on for too much longer. The number 20 of Berrios in the BMW Team WRT car, and the beautiful BMW colors, red, white, and blue, doing very well, but catching back up to Brandon Pfeiffer, just 9/10 off the good right now from that number 3 in third place. Some call it fate, right, Mike Nause?
Some may call it a curse. That is for sure. Brandon Pfeiffer, we're going to find out very, very soon. He started in third for the number 3, and he's currently in third. Now, let's see. Will it stay that way? Will it be a fourth, or will it be maybe a little bit worse than that? As, of course, there are plenty of positions to lose and not too many to gain if your name is Pfeiffer. You do have 1.5 seconds, though, to the good of Joseph German. So there is still a potential position on the cards for him. However, it would take a little bit of, as well, again, luck, considering the fact that Barrios here seems to be gaining and he wants to get by quickly. If these two start scrapping, German will disappear off into the distance.
Yeah, 1.1 is the separation basically between Joseph German and Brandon Pfeiffer and Santiago Berrios from Pfeiffer as well. And Daniel Meyer, 15 seconds away from Berrios right now, but still paired up with Osvaldo Costa. 2:10 separating these two right now. It's looking like an epic last lap battle will shake down for them. Pfeiffer on board. I believe we can do that for you.
Here's the eyes of the third place driver here, getting by another BMW. Flashy, flashy, the headlights, just to allow, just to let the drivers know I'm coming by. Just so you know, don't move over. I'd appreciate you not to crash me out. And a great view of Joseph German. Blue flag there, blinking. That's for the car behind us. The BMW, of course, also being lapped by Barrios in the rear. You can't quite see him from this camera angle, but you certainly can see the circuit ahead, the asphalt, the track that's never been repaved since 2004.
And that's one of the reasons why the track wears down the tires so much here at Bahrain, because it has never been resurfaced, as well as the sand that's rolling in from the dunes surrounding Bahrain circuit in the Bahrain desert, just chipping away at the bitumen that's on the track surface and getting rid of any of that, well, smoothness that once existed is now super abrasive, as well as them using a special compound on the outside lines of the track. You see all that gray stuff It's not exactly gravel. They use a special adhesive to try to keep the sand from getting onto the track surface. So when you run off wide a little bit, that brown stuff is gravel actually. But when you run into the light brown stuff, it's actually an adhesive property to try to collect the sand and keep it from getting onto the track surface. So that'll wear down your tires even more so.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that you get sand on your tires, like you mentioned, and then you start slipping and sliding around, which causes even more wear and able to get more sand on your tires, and it's a spiral, it's a downward spiral if you're not too careful here at Bahrain. Your tires can fall off a cliff, and obviously you've heard that expression before, but it means something a little bit different on this circuit, because you can go from one lap driving perfectly to the next lap not even being able to stay on circuit. If you've ever driven on the F1 games, you would have found that out for certain, as it models it very well in that simulator as well. Pfeiffer here, though, not really making much progress. Let's take a look here at Mitchell Diaz, who's looking to make a gain into 6th position potentially right now, and looking ahead to Osvaldo Costa.
Osvaldo Costa's previous best lap being a 1:48.1, Mitchell Diaz's best lap being a 1:47.4, so the time is going the way of Mitchell Diaz right now, but the 46 getting involved and being a little bit of a cork in the bottle there for the number 5 behind, but the gap has come down to under 1/10 of a second. Coming down the hill right now, will it be a look on the inside line for the number 5? No, thinks better of it, and takes evasive action back to the racing line as we approach the final 2 corners of 14 and 15. Headed towards turn 1, though. This is the closest Mitchell Diaz has been to Osvaldo Costa for a while.
And with that, he's going to be thinking of ascend, but right now, the first corner, not necessarily the best spot. It's a good spot. You can make it happen here. But the problem with these hypercars, and one of the reasons that you're seeing such a difficulty with overtaking, is A, the inside line is going to, well, mess you up, being the fact that it's the dirty line, and B, these cars have such short braking zones. They are so good onto the brakes that you have to be clever with your overtakes. It's not like a Mazda, it's not like an MX-5 where you can go from a mile back in the braking zone and send it. These cars are not like that. They're not designed for that purpose, and as such, you have to be very smart, get aggressive, and really get your elbows out at times to make the move stick here at Bahrain.
Yeah, really true. And only 1/10 is the gap between their previous lap between each other. So that time is going Mitchell Diaz's way, but not for too long. And it looks like Osvaldo Costa has caught up to Daniel Meyer out in front. And this is going to be a 3-way scrap for the top 5. And it looks like on the inside goes the number 8 Toyota, but it looks like the number 5 is able to get 2 positions made up in one false move as the number 8 and 51 collected each other.
Just a devastating move there between the two, and honestly a very avoidable situation, but the man gained everything there. Mitchell Diaz says, well, thank you two very much. You guys can continue on your merry way, punching each other repeatedly, and I am going to look in my rearview mirror and laugh. That's exactly what his plans are, and that's exactly how he's executing it right now. However, those two have gotten their back onto their best behavior. It looks like Costa and Meyer are going to be a little upset after that one, not just at each other, but also at Diaz. However, 1 lap to go. This is it. Carl Sween has begun the white flag lap, and we'll be taking the checkered flag very shortly, well, not very shortly, within a relatively short amount of time.
Checking out Carl Sween coming around for the final time. He's doing very well for himself. He's got a 6.4 second gap right now between himself and Joseph German. Brandon Pfeiffer is about 0.3 away from Joseph German right now. Barrios 4.5 away from that battle, and Osvaldo Costa and Daniel Meyer are still battling it out for P6 and P7. Nobody came into the pit lane and that horn went off. I just want to point that out. Brandon Pfeiffer side by side with Joseph German, the number 7 and the number 3 going into it towards turn 11. It looks like the race is almost over, and it looks like the drivers are nose to tail right now, battling it out for the final 2 podium positions, as Barrios has found himself in P4 right now. He's tried his best. Here's back to Carl Sween right now as he's about to approach the final 2 corners coming around turns 14 and 15 right now, making his way downtown, walking fast, faces past. He is homebound, and he is pulling out P1. Carl Sween taking the checkered flag for the final time here. Joseph German and Brandon Pfeiffer battling it out for P2 in P3. In the Hypercar category, it looks like German leads over Pfeiffer. Barrios will take home P4. Mitchell Diaz in P5. Osvaldo Costa in P6. No more battling to be found between Osvaldo Costa and Daniel Meyer in P7 right now. The number 51 Ferrari. Rob Skyhook, Pedro Lima, Siege Engine, Arlen Santos, Randy Gross, Alex Alfonso, and Jake Bucknam.
And then on to the LMGT3 category. We can take off our hats in bow and then throw them out on the circuit because Lucas Mind has pulled off a hat trick of victories tonight. His third victory in the third round of the Trackalicious Le Mans Ultimate Championship. João Azevedo, great effort all the way around. He's finished second tonight. And despite his efforts, he'll be receiving quite the haul of points, and it's going to be a welcome to his previous result of a fifth. That'll put him into the championship running as well. And with that third position belonging to Tim Kennedy, kind of the dark horse in the equation, we barely mentioned his name tonight. He was all on his lonesome, and he's going to be finishing 17th overall, but third in category.
Absolutely great drive out of Tim Kennedy to finish it out. Xavier Crabb in P4, Will Brunner in P5, and One Bigley in P6. And that'll round out the finishers of the GT3 LM category. And Tim Kennedy did a phenomenal job to secure P3, and that should keep him in second place, of the championship so far.
And with that, the championship underway. And continuing on as we get ready to look forward to Monza, the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. And we're going to be seeing a little more overtake, Saagar, if I have to predict, than tonight.
Absolutely. We'll see some great overtaking happening at the Monza Autodrome, and especially during so many of the steep braking zones that Autodromo de Monza will provide for us. And hopefully we don't see too much turn one calamity that you normally see as the drivers are becoming more comfortable with the program and LMU in general. Hopefully we'll see some nice clean racing. Let's head back over to the studio as we wrap this one up. And back
and
into
as
the
we
studio.
are, there we go. Back into the studio, of course, here. And with that, we have Lucas Mind in the chat. Welcome, Lucas. And obrigado. Congratulations as well on your hat trick of victories. And Nalu with the 39 Bitteroos, dropping some celebration for Brazil as well. They're one of the Lucas Mind fans, I suppose, fan members. I don't know how we want to necessarily describe it, but does in fact drop the 39 bits here tonight. Big thank you for your support. But Saagar, what a race, what an eventful championship that we have here, and heading over to the penultimate round of Monza. It's going to be exciting.
I'm looking forward to this. LMU has sure provided us with some excitement and to shake up some of the sim racing that we typically do. And LMU has done a great job of hosting multi-class madness for us. So I am absolutely here for it. Looking forward to Monza, and of course, looking forward to the Circuit de la Sarthe, aka Le Mans, for the ultimate finale that we're going to have in front of us. And it'll be exciting to see such a full grid get lit up with cars, as well as the P2 categories become available for all the drivers. So expect to see some new faces and some new things being shown with the P2 category getting thrown into the mix.
Absolutely. It's going to be absolutely electric. And as this championship continues to draw on and LMU continues to develop as a simulator, and we get more and more tools to give you more information about it, the simulator is going to be turning into a truly wonderful, wonderful experience. Lucas Mind, obrigado for the raid. Welcome all of the Brazilian viewers. Saagar, you've been on Duolingo. Do you have anything that you'd like to say to our Brazilian fans that are joining us?
Bom dia!
And on that note, folks, I hope everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. We need to raid, actually, before I forget, so hold that thought, Saagar. I should have been pulling that together already, but I have just remembered we should be getting a raid on here. In fact, I think I already know who we're going to be raiding. It's the birthday boy himself, Jake Wells Racing. Go over and wish Jake Wells a happy birthday, everybody. He is driving some LMU, so let's get over to him and say hello. Let's raid Mr. Jake Wells. And on that note, folks, we are going to be getting out of here. I hope everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. I've been Mike Nause, Saagar Bakshi alongside me for tonight. Thank you, and good night.
Good night, everybody.